Tzu Chi Foundation was invited to hold a forum on the topic of environmental protection at the UN Conference. Tzu Chi volunteer Pan Jili takes on both the responsibility of Chen Store CEO and coordinator for flood relief. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Lori Chen. Thank you for joining us. The 67th UN DPI NGO Conference was held at the UN New York headquarters. The Tzu Chi Foundation was invited to hold a workshop on the topic of environmental protection. Volunteers shared about Tzu Chi's recycling efforts in the face of climate change, and also on Tzu Chi's worldwide disaster relief experiences. What an honor to be featured!
We're at the United Nations, and this is day 2 of the UN Department of Public Information NGO Conference. Folks are basically talking about how civil society can contribute to moving forward big goals for making the world a better place.
To not only understand who the people you communicate with and where they come from is important, but having that willingness to then, from your understanding, take action and drive that next step. So now I'm going to pass the space over to
If there's one clear and consistent lesson from the research on climate change communication, and one that I think plays out in the real world, is that people respond to personal messages about climate change. So you want to let people know that the heat waves they're seeing now, the storms, the wildfires, those things are directly influenced by climate change. They're making their life worse, but also that the solutions are at hand, and we can decide how bad this gets.
For me, I really think about climate change as more of a framework than an individual issue to be working on. I think that climate change is not only the product and the symptom of a lot of other underlying systems of oppression, but also the solutions are going to have to come from ideas that are getting at those really deep problems.
We cannot change in reality the situation we are facing, but we can slow down, we can reduce, we can minimize this kind of challenge. Through the 2 days special workshop and convention programs, we share the Tzu Chi environmental missions, but the most important, we, the people, put into actions. We acknowledge what's happened around the world. We realize how we can work together, but the most important, we take action to support this kind of climate change.
Controversy over plans to build hazardous waste landfills near Longqi and Matousan have become a political issue, as many believe these are the only untouched and unique landscapes left in Taiwan. For the moment, various environmental groups are working on policy changes to combat these problems.
In the early morning, we visit Longqi Erliao, and although the altitude is only 300 meters above sea level, a sea of clouds can be seen in the valley below.
在牛埔这边可以看日出跟夕阳，这个是其他地方没有的。
Golden rays of the sun slowly penetrate the clouds as Longqi's sunrise is one of the most beautiful views in southern Taiwan.
I'm always here. I like it the best when it's raining with the clouds and the fog. It floats on your face and you feel like you're in the clouds. It is really beautiful.
Chen Yonghe, a 70-year-old borough chief, says that the scenery in this location is the same as when he was a child and nothing has changed.
Taiwan doesn't have that many good places left. This should be considered one of those places. Nothing has changed for 40 or 50 years, and it hasn't been destroyed. And now they want to dump waste, which is not right.
Entering the Longqi Valley reveals a very strange landscape, which is like the surface of the moon. In the past, the soil was barren here and it was difficult to grow plants, leading it to have no agricultural value, as some called it an evil.
In 2013, the Veteran Affairs Council put forward a proposal to turn down these 76 hectares, which were once an explosive testing area, into a hazardous waste landfill in the south for materials such as dioxin. After curing and stabilizing, they are all to be buried here.
台南的山区里面就这里最有价值啊。The The jagged cliffs are exposed and undulating along these ridges. This piece of land built up over millions of years is quite well protected. This is because a strictly controlled explosives factory used to be located in Longqi.
There are only 3 countries in the world which have a mudstone and sandstone topography. There are Taiwan, Italy, and Central Asia. We have the largest such area in Taiwan, and this place has the best landscape.
Everything you see in front of you is nature's ingenuity.
Where I'm standing is a very special mudstone terrain. Behind there used to be a former arsenal. And when we go inside, this is where the Chen Corporation has designated as a site for landfill. Should this happen, this precious landscape will be completely destroyed.
Many do not want their hometown to become an industrial waste dumping ground, especially for the most hazardous waste. For this reason, Chen has vowed to dedicate his life to protecting his hometown. Many Longqi villagers traveled north to protest these plans. Many of them are over 70 and already have white hair. They have traveled a great distance to oppose the permitting of this landfill.
Because it has been extended many times, then according to current regulation, the landfill as scheduled in fact does not meet regulatory requirements. This is because in the upper reaches of Eren Creek, there is the Dragon Boat anticline and fault along with the Gutingken anticline, making it a sensitive area for landslides.
In Taiwan, there's bound to be a place suitable for industrial waste. It is still necessary to find a proper disposal place so that Taiwan's industry can smoothly develop.
The dispute over the Longqi landfill has gone through more than a decade of debate, involving many ruling political parties, though no one has stepped forward to clarify the matter. Maotosan, which is opposite Longqi, has become involved in the very same controversy. Today, environmental groups and academics, as well as director Wang Xiaodi and other artists, have come to Maotosan to oppose its use as a landfill. In this disputed area for a landfill, which is slightly populated and comes at a cheap price, these plans have become a lingering nightmare.
In the future, worry about toxic landfills in this place can be exposed to landslides and even affect our upstream water source. We have even found civets, crab-eating mongoose, pangolins, mask palm civet, Chinese ferret badger, all concentrated at this area.
A lot of rare wildlife is here, which is still undiscovered by the academic world. This unique terrain in Taiwan has survived and is an example of world-class nature conservation.
Landfills should be in a place where no one goes, and there's no development in the area.
Landfills should be next to the industrial chain. In Taiwan, there are many idle industrial areas and some land that is already contaminated.
Environmental groups believe that the best place for industrial waste to go is Kaohsiung, which is the largest industrial town in the south.
Dapingding is near 3 industrial zones, and there are a number of illegal factories, which has the highest density amongst old towns and villages. In fact, there is a large block of area which has a high risk of illegal disposal. This is one potential area.
Kaohsiung produces more than 5 million tons of industrial waste per year, which is equivalent to 1/4 of all such industrial waste. The heavily polluted Hong Shasan and Dapingding area are all full of dust and industrial sludge, but according to new township planning, new residential and commercial areas are being planned. As for Longqi and Maotosan, these are the only undeveloped areas that are suitable for landfills.
For Maotosan, a company bought all the land and wants to do some development. This is just like Longqi, which used to have an explosives factory. So all of the property rights in this area are relatively clear.
Taiwan is actually quite small, though it annually produces 2.5 million tons of hazardous industrial waste each year. This leads to an urgent need to find new landfills. But the dispute over such developments does not just involve environmental protection, as it also involves the economy and industrial development, as these concerns must be carefully evaluated for the future development of Taiwan.
More and more people are gradually getting used to the idea of eating mixed meals, such as fried rice, risotto, stir-fried noodles, and Italian pasta dishes. However, these type of dishes are not only high in caloric value, but many times there are always excessive sauces pooling at the bottom. Nowadays, more than 70% of the containers used by children in schools are bowls. This will cause the food to be moist, which can easily increase the risk of acid reflux and even affect oral health. On one side is a colorful bento, on the other is a one-color pasta and fried rice. Which one do you fancy?
喜欢吃意大利面，自助餐类会比较多一点，因为自助餐会比较均衡一点。
Adults will often pay attention to nutritional values, while children prefer mixing up all their foods and or heavier tasting foods, such as stir-fried noodles, fried rice, and pasta dishes. However, little do they know there are many health risks within these choices.
Some sauces mixed within a rice dish on average in one meal will probably have around 10 grams of oil in it. There's also around 8 grams of sugar content. When it's on the higher end of the flavor profile, it can even reach 1,200 milligrams of sodium.
In addition, more than 70% of the containers used by the children during school lunches are bowls. If there is a dish that is superior in texture, it will make the rest of the foods moister. This will actually reduce chewing and affect oral health.
因为口水分泌少，因为我们知道口水里面有很多抗体。
When the secretion of saliva is low, it creates a hostile environment orally. We know that there are many antibodies in saliva. It's a type of natural protection, so when there's a lot of saliva being secreted, it actually helps in digesting various types of carbohydrates.
Experts have stated that it's best to compartmentalize each dish in rice. This will help one judge the ratio of each meal. In general, the quantity of side dishes should be about double the amount of the rice. When eating, it's important to not ingest too much of the sauces that are pooling at the bottom. Tzu Chi's disaster relief team in Laos continues to help the flood survivors. Besides caring for the residents in the hard-hit areas, the volunteers are also concerned about people in the mountains. After getting permission by the local government, volunteers deliver 1.2 tons of Jingsi instant rice by helicopter. In addition, they also headed to a village daily to provide clean drinking water.
3 volunteers, including the driver and 2 soldiers, created an assembly line to move the 1.2 tons of Jingsi instant rice and 3,000 reusable bowls from the second floor. They are heading to Sonamsei government's office next. They are also waiting for the helicopter to deliver the supplies to the hard-hit mountainous areas.
Currently, all the roads in the mountains are closed. People in the mountainous areas are in desperately need of aid because they have ran out of food supplies for 3 days already.
This village is the only hardest area where aid supplies can still be delivered through ground transport. After the water purifiers were installed, the volunteers spent 4 hours a day driving to and from the village to assist the residents with the operation. They have also invited 180 households in the village to come help carry the water.
Now the residents have clean water to drink. It's great for hygiene. There will no longer be any parasites. This will be good for our health.
Before, we had to spend 2 to 3 hours traveling to Samnasai to get some clean water. I'm glad that we have clean water to drink near our home now.
We prepared a lot of clean water jugs for the villagers. After filling the buckets with water, we let the villagers take them home. However, we reminded them that they must bring it back tomorrow so that we can refill it with more clean water.
The volunteers are also planning to teach local residents on how to operate the water purifiers. This way, all 850 villagers will be able to continue to have clean water to drink.
Kaohsiung Tzu Chi volunteer Pan Jili's chain clothing store was also affected by the floods. Being the coordinator for the Disaster Prevention Center in the Kaohsiung Jingsi Hall, he was unable to clean up his own stores. Thankfully, all of his employees were all very understanding and supporting him in helping those who are more in need.
Water flooded into this clothing store, and clothes on the ground all get wet. Employees hurry to stack them on higher shelves. The clothing store in Shaogang was flooded on the morning of August 24th, while the Kunshan branch in Tainan is also flooded. Upon receiving the news, the CEO of the store made his first stop to Kaohsiung CEO.
The torrential rain has impacted Kaohsiung, Tainan, and Jiayi. We've received many damage reports already. I rushed to the Jingsa Hall immediately because I'm afraid that there will be urgent situations that needed attention before the Disaster Prevention Center launches.
Pan Jili is a Tzu Chi volunteer and also the coordinator of the Disaster Prevention Center in Kaohsiung Jingsi Hall. He arrives before the team was ready to coordinate aid resources in advance and was unable to go to his stores. Luckily, his store managers have handled the situation for him. Staffs are hanging wet clothes from the ceilings and some on hangers. What's their opinions about the missing CEO during this emergency situation?
We know that he's doing good deeds and helping other more severely affected people. We hope that they can receive immediate help. We can handle the store by ourselves.
The CEO always told us to feel the suffering of others. We should do our best to help if we have the ability, and we can start by doing our job well right here.
Many of the employees are also Tzu Chi members. They understand that Pan Jili always prioritizes Tzu Chi missions.
I'm very grateful that they can handle the situation during the flood, so I can be worry-free.
His employees are his biggest supporters during these disasters because they share the same goal of helping more flooded-affected residents in need.
A total of 65 Taichung volunteers joined the Tainan volunteers in the flood relief efforts. They divided into 11 different routes to visit affected residents in remote areas. Meanwhile, a free clinic was also held at an activity center to provide any needed medical services.
This large group of volunteers are taking off to conduct the fourth day of visits in Tainan. They will go to areas such as remote parts of Tainan's Yanshui. 65 Taichung Tzu Chi volunteers came to lend their support.
We want to have a good relationship with them. These folks who suffer more, we can be with them and provide them comfort and help.
Volunteers conveyed blessings from Dharma Master Zheng Yan, as villagers nodded their heads and their hearts were quite warm.
We feel quite warm. This current disaster affecting us in this remote area is out of sight for many people.
With fish farms everywhere, the flooding made it difficult to distinguish roads in the area. Volunteers rushed to deliver hot food as the borough chief led eager volunteers.
Thank you, Tzu Chi, for providing your help.
Care from Taichung has arrived as Tima is holding a free medical clinic in this activity center.
We saw almost 70 or 80 individuals. Their children live elsewhere and they lost all their medicine. Many have been soaked in water for a long time as there are lots of skin disease today.
This helps us relax and feel more comfortable.
Many of these elders have endured pain and suffering for several days. Finally, they can feel relief along with the compassion of volunteers, which has put a smile on their faces.
The heavy rains brought by the tropical depression caused severe flooding in many lower areas of Jiayi. Since August 26, Tzu Chi volunteers have been continuously conducting home visits and distributing aid supplies to the flood survivors.
On the day of the flood, there was neither water nor electricity. In addition, we had nothing to eat. Now I still need your support because I feel helpless.
所以讲，你若讲要去我嘛无。
This Tzu Chi charity card is worth $65, so you'll have $65 to use. You can buy anything except tobacco and alcohol.
In Zhangtan Village in Dongsi, DaAi Tzu Chi Hospital's medical team set up a free clinic at a local temple. It was discovered there are many solitary seniors and people with physical disabilities in this area. They are unable to clean up their homes, therefore Tzu Chi volunteers came just in time to help out.
Due to the heavy rain, several villages in Dongshi Township have been flooded for days. Zhangtan Village has been severely flooded. Yesterday, the floodwater level was up to my waist. Today, as you can see, the floodwater has receded. The residents are now busy cleaning up their homes. The residents have moved out an enormous amount of damaged furniture and large appliances, such as TV sets, refrigerators, and sofas. The soldiers form an assembly line in order to move the heavy furniture pieces, and they also sprayed disinfectant to prevent the spreading of infectious diseases. When Executive UN President William Lai visited the disaster areas, he announced that the government is initiating the Work for Relief program. They plan to pay the affected residents $4.6 an hour to clean up the communities.
We will pump out the water so that the residents can return back to their normal lives.
Since the affected residents desperately need to clean up their homes, Tzu Chi volunteers have mobilized teams to help with the cleanup efforts.
Our hearts go out to the affected residents. In fact, Zhangtan is one of the hardest hit zones.
This homeowner is a Tzu Chi care recipient who has cerebellar atrophy. His older sister and her family have come from Taipei to help with the cleanup efforts.
I did not know there is so much work to do. I'm grateful that people have come here to help out.
Meanwhile, DaAi Tzu Chi Hospital's medical team is providing a free clinic here. 78-year-old Mr. Yu has injured himself while cleaning up. Therefore, the volunteer has escorted him to get his wounds treated. DaAi Tzu Chi Hospital's medical team is providing free medical services at the Baoan Temple in Zhangtan Village.
Zhangtan Village has been the most severely flooded area. DaAi Tzu Chi Hospital has provided a complete medical team to care for the flood survivors. We have internal medicine doctors, TCM doctors, and most importantly, psychiatrists available.
Tzu Chi is safeguarding the flood survivors in various ways, hoping to help them get back on their own 2 feet soon.
The Almonte Liaison Office in the U.S. recently conducted the auspicious 7 Lunar Month blessing ceremony. The theme of filial piety was presented through stage drama performances. Everyone felt that life is indeed just like a drama. Have you been filial today? Thank you for watching and see you next time.